first item of business is roll call. It looks like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait a minute. Yeah, Lisa's online. Who are we missing? Ozzy. Oh, that's right. He said he was going to be out. Okay, you're just occupying the Ozzy space? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Greg. That's important for room balance. So we do have a quorum, and I can certify that we are in compliance with open meetings law. Public comment? Hearing none. We will move on to communications and presentations. The first presentation is the Moody's Investor Services Credit Rating Report.
So as I mentioned last time, we were rated at AA2 from Moody's for our bond sale that happened on the 15th, and this is just the report from that rating with the indicators of where we fall amongst the medians for the rest of the financial specifications. So that's it for that.
Does anybody have any questions on the Moody's rating? All right. Hearing none on that, then we will move on to 5B, which is the 2026A promissory note sale results from July 15th.
So as I mentioned, the sale happened on July 15th. We received a 3.84% true interest cost, which was well below what our parameters resolution had forecasted. I think our parameters resolution was like somewhere in 4.5%, and so we came in a lot lower. The low bidder was TD Financial Products, LLC of New York. And then with that lower interest rate, the net savings to principal and interest over the life of the notes will be about $911,000. And so then the closing date happens this week on the 30th.
If I recall, last year we came in lower too, right?
I think not as low, but we did come in lower. I think it's just a market conditions.
Yeah, well, what do we have, like 7 bidders?
Yes, 7 bidders.
So that, I think that helped.
I
And
was
the next low
pleasantly
bidder was
surprised
pretty
to
close.
see the rate.
Any other questions on that one? All right. Next item is the Adams Outdoor Electronic Billboard Proposal.
Would you like me to introduce Jack Russell with Adams Outdoor Advertising?
Sure.
Jack, thanks for being with us remotely. I know you're going to participate at the council as well. But Nicole Murray, if you wouldn't mind putting the slides up. Jack also prepared some extra slides as well. But this is meant to be a presentation and a Q&A for finance and also at council later. So, Jack, the floor is yours.
You want the proposal or the slides?
They're both. So if you want to start with the proposal, Jack, it's up to you. It's your show.
Yeah, we can start with the proposal.
Okay.
Okay, you just give me a moment and see if I can find it here. There, I think this is it. Do you see it?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, hello everybody. I'm Jack Russell. I'm the real estate manager for the Adams Outdoor Madison Market. And yeah, just gonna go through a couple slides here with the billboard proposal. You can move on. So right now we have a back-to-back poster located on East Main Street at 401 East Main Street. It's dimensions are 10 by 22 right in the center of downtown. And the city had brought to us earlier that they'd like that removed. It's kind of in a not in the best location for the city. And so we came up with this digital proposal. You can go to the next slide. With the current lease we have on that back-to-back poster, it's a $2,000 annual lease rent that goes to the city of Stoughton. And with that lease, there's no increase, and it's 10 years with automatic renewals. And right now, there's no option to remove that sign. And then next slide. What we're proposing is two things for this digital new sign. One would be either a lease agreement, which would be 50, which we'd be offering $50,000 per year if we were able to get this billboard placed in service on or before October 31st of 26. And then if it was to be after that, October 31st, 26, then we'd be offering lease payment of $25,000 per year. And that's just really because we're pushing for 2026 revenue on for our company right now. So that's a big thing for us, and we would just love to get the ball rolling on this. And with that, we'd take down the East Main location, and that would be a 20-year lease. And along with the annual lease rent payment, we'd be offering 5 spots on our Adams Digital Network to promote city events and incentives. Right now we have digitals across the Madison area and Middleton, Wanakee, Windsor, DeForest, Sun Prairie, and then along the Beltline as well. So great opportunity for the city to promote any events and initiatives. And then along with that, we'd be offering free advertising on our digitals for emergency messaging, public service announcements, PSAs, Amber Alerts, and similar public service communications. You can go to the next slide.
Just a quick question. At the last meeting, the question of the date came up, whether or not that's still a viable deadline if we were to move forward, or if there's any opportunity to talk about that.
Yeah, so we'd really be pushing for that end of October date. It'd be relatively easy for us to get this lease agreement put together and put in front of you guys. And for a matter of getting the structure bill, we'd be able to follow that timeline if we were to get able to get this lease signed off on.
Jack, what's the lead time that you would need to actually, once the lease is executed, to construct and erect the sign? What sort of lead time would you need for that?
Well, putting together the lease will be relatively easy because it's a standard lease. So we could have that to you by the end of the week. And once we get it signed, it's just a matter of ordering the structure and faces, which from there we could probably have that within a month to a month and a half.
So a
And
month and a half is the lead time. So, obviously this is a big decision for the council. So we're talking about mid-September, really, that you would have to be in place for you to secure the sign and the post and get it installed.
that is correct, yes.
Okay, that's just good. That's good to know.
Can I ask
And
a quick
then-
question about following up on that date? What would the impact be if there's supplier days or other things outside of the city's control that would delay installation of the sign and put into service?
I think if we were able to have the lease signed off on and we were going towards that date and it was to be something outside of the city's control, then I think we could work through that and still have the agreed upon amount. With this, the proposed easement would be similar to the lease, but with a 20-year structure, but it'd be an upfront payment. And prior to October 31st, we'd be able to offer 500,000 payment, which would be upfront. And then similarly, after October 31st, it'd be a $250,000 payment.
On question real quick on both the lease and the easement, there's talk of the 5 advertising spots per year. What's the length of those?
So it would be a period that we run is 28 days, and then you just get put into either strictly on this billboard in this location, or whether you don't want to be across the network of Adams inventory in the area. But it'd be 8. You're in a rotation of 8 flips, which goes 8 seconds per flip, and then you'd run for a period of 28 days. So you'd have five periods.
Thank you.
And this is a location we were looking at, a water retention pond at 1516 Oak Opening Drive. And we're looking at a 12 by 24 back-to-back digital with 30 feet height overall. Just some more pictures and
And then the exact location, that would be upon mutual agreement. Is that correct?
yeah, correct.
So
Yes.
that's obviously just for
That's
frame of
yeah,
reference.
that's just a rendering for a visual, but
Okay. Yep.
could be worked upon, yes.
Good.
Is there any additional questions?
I
Jack,
had
what
a
are-
question.
Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
And I may have misheard because I'm online, but you didn't say in the retention pond, right? I didn't hear you say in the retention pond.
No, not in the retention pond. It would be outside of the pond itself, just the property where the retention pond is located.
Understood. Thank you.
Jack, what's the lumen rating on these signs? What, like, per, go ahead with whatever unit you want to use. I'll convert it.
Yeah, just one second. I have something I can pull up here. So it would be the lighting. We did a lighting report from Watchfire, and it would be with that 12 by 24 digital billboard. It produces limited and highly directional increased and ambient light, and seconds. It'd be falling below 0.03 foot candles beyond 300 feet and below 0.01 foot candles at distance approaching 500 feet. And the highest measured illumination would be 0.28 foot candles, which occurs only within the primary viewing distance directly in front of the display and decreasing significantly after the off-axis viewing angles. And I can share this report with the group as well to go over. I have a rep from Watchfire joining on the next meeting at 8 to answer any additional questions about the display as well.
Okay, yeah, that report would be helpful. Thanks.
I have a question, Jack. Does the lumens, do they change whether it's nighttime or daytime?
Yeah, so those will change throughout the day. If it's whether it's dark or light, we're putting out the amount of light that needs to be shown. So during the night when it's darker, it will be significantly decreased the amount of light it's putting off.
Do you guys avoid bright flashes and things like that? I mean, obviously it's a Highway 51. There's a lot of traffic that comes through there. So what kind of traffic safety do you guys look at when you put these types of signs in?
Yeah, so it's actually, we don't have any flashing or movement on these digital signs. It's just a rotating flips with different creatives that go from point with less than 0.01 seconds. So there's no flashing with this, and it's just one static that stays the same and flips at a rate.
I had a question. I may be getting ahead, but it would also be helpful if you had an example, if, in town or out, well, not in town, but a couple of places, we might be able to go drive and see something that represents a similar sign. If you have an address that you could share at some point, that would be helpful also.
Exactly. Yeah, we have multiple digitals in the Madison surrounding areas. I can give you addresses of to go and drive.
I think your other slide decks also have some references as well, correct?
Yes.
Tim or Nicole, you guys gonna queue up the next slide deck?
Yeah, I'm working on that right now.
Okay, all right, thanks.
So I'll have it up in a moment here. Here we go. I think this is it.
Yes. So this is just some stats of our other digitals and community partnerships. Our digital in Sun Prairie, the PSA, in 2024, they ran 796,348,000 flips for PSA alerts and community messages over the year. And then go to the next slide. It's just a letter of support from the previous mayor of Middleton with our partnership with them and their sign. And then along with partnerships we do offering the 5 flips, this is just outside. We do a collaborative program, which since 2026, we've partnered with dozens of Dane County area nonprofits to offer free advertisement, promotions, and fundraising events. And through these nonprofits, we've given more than $250,000 worth of free advertisements across our digital billboards. And next slide just shows a couple of those nonprofits and businesses we've helped out. And additionally, some examples of those creatives and partnerships. Following slides.
Do you find that these communities have policies that help them determine who to support?
Definitely, yes. And of course, we could work with the city to work with any nonprofits located within the city of Stoughton that you guys align with as well to do with this partnership.
Okay, thank you.
These next couple slides are just all examples of different creatives. Is there any additional questions?
All right, doesn't sound like it. So you're going to give the same presentation to council, and then I don't think we have any action at this meeting. If I were, we would need some sort of a resolution, I imagine.
Yeah, we could certainly draft a resolution. Brett, were you thinking that we would need a recommendation to stay on the timeline, or what are you thinking?
Well, I think so, and Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have till mid-September really is our drop dead date. So if we were to bring this back to Finance and Council on the 11th, I believe, of August, and again, I think we want to understand if the council wants to move forward with, recommend staff to move forward with putting together, or working with Jack and his team on a lease agreement. I know there's opportunity at the council. I believe the last agenda item is to go into closed session if you so choose to discuss such a lease. So I think it'd be appropriate at that time to give staff direction if you choose to go into closed session to talk about this and then to work with Jack and his team on a lease.
Okay, so Jack is definitely our point of contact then?
Yes, I'll be a point of contact.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for that.
So we'll see you at council?
Yep, see you at council.
Thanks, Jack.
Of course. Thank you.
So the next item is approval of the minutes from our July 14th meeting.
Move to approve.
All right, motion by Adrian,
Second.
second by Brett. Not quite fast enough. Any amendments, questions, additions, subtractions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And no opposed, so those minutes are approved. Now we get into a raft of resolutions. The first resolution is R 108 of 2026 to amend the 2026 budget for engineering plans for Stoughton Trailers Community Park mass grading. So this is to start the take steps to prepare the land for the proposed Stoughton Trailer Park. Is Tony on? I saw Brett on there.
No, I can speak to the best I can as well. And I believe this is just for the engineering portion of the mass grading. So this is just using park development funds to start engineering on the grading of the entire property. As all of you know, it's a large area. So we're starting to get the ball rolling, per the master plan and getting the land prepped for creation of the park.
Brett, question. In the last Parks meeting, we discussed quite a bit about the park and the other proposals within that area and talked about fundraising. And we talked about not wanting to commit any funds until we know that the fundraising is successful, at least in phases. Does this run afoul of that at all from your perspective?
I don't believe so. I think this just creates the groundwork to create those amenities within the park. So this is really just the grading of the land to get it prepared for the amenities that are in the master plan or that are fundraised for in the future. So I don't believe it runs afoul of that. It's really just preparing the canvas for the amenities that are going to go into the park.
Okay, thank you.
Patrick, it also is
Nicole
coming
Marie.
from park impact fees rather than funds that are either borrowed for or coming from the operating budget. So these are fees that have been paid in by developers as they're pulling permits, largely from the Continental Authentics development right now. So we just, in the budget, did not have any expenses really set aside for anything happening with the grading or the park at the time. And so now that we know of an expense, we need to do a budget amendment to create that.
Thank you for that. I'm kind of anticipating Regina's questions at 7, so. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain, oh, Tim, did you have something?
No, I don't.
Okay.
It looks like there's a resolution.
Yep, entertain a motion on the resolution.
I would move to send, what resolution is it? Good Lord.
108.
Resolution 108 through to council. Thank you. It's
All
been a
right,
day.
we have a motion by Brenda
I'll second.
and a
Second.
second by Adrian. All in favor of recommending to council, please say aye.
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 Aye. And any opposed? All right, we will recommend to council. Next item is also a budget amendment. This is R 109 of 2026 to amend the 2026 budget for contract with Capital Area Regional Planning Commission, CARPC, for Southwest Stoughton Neighborhood Plan. And Brett, are you speaking to that, or Nicole Marie, or
I
Tim?
can speak to
All
it.
right.
So you might recall Planning Director Muntz Pritchard had a proposal to have a conversation with Capital Area Regional Planning Commission about the land out at Stoughton Utilities, out on Highway 138 where the substation is, kind of across from Walmart. And the idea would be to do a detailed neighborhood plan now that we have made a decision on where we're going to build a new utility building out on Williams Drive. We would like to see what our options would be as far as developing that land out there. There's a number of things that would have to happen. There's a 1 acre piece where the fourth leg of the roundabout is that Ford Development Group owns, but they're interested in selling it. We have 10 to 12 acres. We have a a plan from the DOT that we could potentially put a park and ride out there. There's a question of, how it would be paid for, but we might be able to use tax incremental financing from the Kettle Park West TIF across the street if we amend the TIF district to help pay for that. So the idea would be to have CARPC help us put together kind of some scenarios of what we might want to do out there, whether it would be commercial or residential or a combination thereof. So I think that's what the resolution is about. Did I miss anything?
That was all right. I got one question. Adrian, on MPO, you've been to some of those meetings already, right? Is that park and ride is that something that's on MPO's radar?
To my knowledge, no, but we
Okay.
are meeting next week and I can reach out.
Okay.
And if you need a copy of the report, we have it. It was last updated, I think, right around the pandemic, so it's been a few years. They had done a study in Dane County, and ours didn't rank high enough for them to fund it. It wasn't, I don't even know if it was in the top 100. We had 3 locations that they were looking at. This one here ranked second, but not by a whole lot. And what makes it a little bit more advantageous for us is the fact that we control the land. And it has good visibility, and it's on 138, heading toward 14, basically. The one that ranked higher is the one on the corner of 51 and B, where they're putting in the roundabout. We don't control that land. I think that one, the visibility was a little better. That's why it ranked a little higher, but it wasn't a whole lot. So I think that if we were gonna do a future park and ride, it would make a lot of sense to consider that location, or at least set aside the land to do that while we figure out how we're gonna pay for it.
Any other questions? All right. Hearing none, entertain a motion.
Motion to recommend.
All right, we have a motion by Brett
Second.
and a second by Lisa. All in favor of recommending to council, please say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Hearing none, we will recommend to council. All right. I don't know why I found this one funny. R110 of 2026 to amend the 2026 budget for window replacement project at the Opera House. And this is.
We can take this
You
one.
want to take it, Brett? Okay.
I don't want to, but I will. So this one was a tough one because of the historic nature of the Opera House. Initially we had $350,000 in the budget, based on the facility study that was done about a year and a half ago now. I don't think they took into account the historic nature of the building and the type of windows that we had to put into it. That really didn't come to light until after we had the architect actually put the plans together. Then we took that to Landmarks. Lisa had a chance to see it twice. So we had a pre-bid meeting invited all prospective bidders. We had one bidder come, which was Joe Daniels Construction. They do specialize in these types of buildings, amongst other things as well. But it was concerning. We had one person come to the pre-bid meeting to tour the building, look at the windows, look at the different nuances to the building. And that was the only bidder that actually submitted a bid. Talking with them after the bid, they have roughly $350,000 plus just in materials for the building. The rest is labor to install the windows, and then their overhead and profit. So they were very open and honest with us that this is not a money grab or anything like that. It's truly the nature of the beast, if you will, with these types of windows that have to go into the building, and then also the historic nature of the building to protect it. We laid out a resolution and then justification, which is in the packet as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. I know it's a lot more than what our original budget was, but again, the original budget was based upon some estimates that were not put together with due diligence, in my opinion. It was more just taking the windows and putting a number on it. So it comes out to be about $7,700 per window, excluding the architectural fees. And we did put a contingency in the budget as well, just because of some potential unknowns with these types of buildings. I'm hoping we don't have to use it, but we feel it's important to have some extra money there in case there's some extra things that happen when you uncork the lid, so to speak. Any questions?
This could go to you, Brett. Maybe Lisa, you have any insights? Are there any opportunities for historic preservation credits, anything like that, to offset any of these costs?
Cities are unfortunately not usually eligible if they were, a not-for-profit, potentially, grants or something like that. So municipalities are challenged, but also given the sort of, I would say semi-urgent need, you could probably speak more to that, Brett. I don't know that we could probably wait anyway, even if, the Friends of the Opera House were trying to, to get some grants. I think given the state of the windows, maybe Brett, you can speak to that. But
you kind of touched on both. Yeah, you kind of touched on both points. It's very difficult for municipalities to get these types of grants. And we do have failing windows, which in the justifications, it does talk about, the longer we let these go, the more potential damage it does to the structure of the building. Right now, poor Bill in his office has old shirts in his window, in some of the openings, if you will, and then also kind of a stick holding up the window, if you will. That's a worst case scenario example, but we do have windows like that in the building, and they're only getting worse. We did talk to Joe Daniels about, it seems like a lot of money, and they made it very clear that this is what you're going to see, so if we're hoping to get a lower bid in the future or to rebid it, there's a chance we may get no bidder or even higher costs than what we're seeing here.
Yeah, I would also commend Brett. He was kind enough he was very patient with the Landmarks Commission, and they're a tough crowd, and I say that with fondness, but they're very protective of the historic buildings, and so they asked a lot of questions, and Brett was very patient and handled it with grace, and so thanks for that. But it's when you have a historic building like this, there's not many choices as far as how to proceed if it's landmarked.
Yeah, the issue with the grants is they usually come in the form of tax credits, and since it's a tax exempt building, we wouldn't be eligible.
Part of the financing too is, Nicole Marie. Nicole Marie and I had talked about it too, and you'll see some other resolutions come forward that are net savings. So essentially we're taking some savings from other projects and moving it over to fund this project if approved.
Any other questions, Brenda?
Kind of a twofer, as somebody who has recently served on the Greene County Board and gone through being on the Finance Committee. When the courthouse restoration project came in 8 to 10 times higher than anticipated, First, kicking these projects down the road does nothing to improve them. It just makes them more expensive and leads to huge challenges. But second of all, what has the maintenance situation on this building been as somebody newer to Stoughton? Is it something that has been receiving regular upgrades, and we're not expecting any surprises once they get these windows removed?
Yeah, so great question. So our department in the last year and a half has taken over the maintenance of city facilities. During that time, we actually had a consultant come in and review the building envelope, the roof structures, windows, HVAC systems. And so one of the things that was highlighted was the windows in this particular building. So we're really trying to get a handle on the deficiencies in some of these buildings and what priorities we need to put in the forefront to get done. So the windows are a major part of securing the building from the elements. And so this is why it was put in the capital improvement projects in 25 and then now into 26.
So they did the consultant did pretty much all the buildings, didn't they?
Yes.
So they did
Yes.
the
So
roofs, the HVACs, the tuck pointing, the windows, the big ticket items. And I think what we're trying to do is kind of chip away at it. And we've also put solar on quite a few of the buildings here in the last year, which will help our operational costs for our utility cost. This pot of money comes out of our capital budget, so it's a different pot of money, but it's still, at the end of the day, is taxpayer money.
The study did expose some deficiencies within the buildings, and in our capital program, we're just trying to pick off the low-hanging fruit, especially these historic buildings. As you alluded to, the longer you defer maintenance, the more costly and the more damage will happen to these buildings.
Any other questions?
And I would just add, Daniels is currently working on the depot building and some of the other buildings that have been purchased by the Schmidt Foundation. So feels like we have a pretty good working relationship with them.
Yeah.
All right. If there are no other questions, do we have a motion?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Lisa to recommend to council
Second.
and second by Adrian. All in favor of recommending this to council, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Okay.
All right, we will recommend that to council.
Can
Next.
I add one thing?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I just want to make it clear that we do have to, if approved at council, we still have to take it back to Landmark so that they can approve the windows that are submitted by the contractor. So I just want to make that apparent.
All right, thank you. I'll try to remember that when we introduce it tonight.
Okay.
No
Sure.
promises. All right, we'll move on to Resolution 112, which is to approve the contract with RG, is it Houston or Huston Company Incorporated for River Trails Underpass?
I say Houston, but I may be wrong too.
It's
Okay.
Houston.
Yeah. And
Was 10.
did I
12?
skip one?
Yeah.
Oh, 111, sorry. Okay, back up. R111, this is to approve contract with Fisher Excavating Incorporated for Wagon Works Way. And this is, it looks like it's for sanitary sewer and water for the project in TID8. Brett, is
I
this
can
you
take this
too?
one. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, sure. Yep. So this is actually part of the RDA development to construct a new roadway, Wagon Works Way, and then also 6th Street. And so this is actually a brand new roadway, including utility work. And this is a part of the TID 8. So during the bid, it actually came back extremely favorable, about $686,000 below our budget. Now, most of the budget was, or I shouldn't say most, a portion of the budget was remediation. The remediation costs came back much lower than anticipated, which is a good thing. But we did or do recommend carrying a higher contingency just because once they start excavating, they could, again, once they open the can of worms, they could find more than anticipated. So we do plan to or recommend having a higher contingency at 6% versus our typical 3%.
Okay.
Any questions on this one?
Any questions?
So some of this is paid for by the TIF or stormwater or?
To date, right, Nicole Marie?
Yes, so a majority of the expenses are in TID aid as part of the project cost for installing the infrastructure.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, we'll entertain a motion to recommend to council.
I would move to recommend to council.
All right, we have a motion by Brenda
Second.
and a second by Brett. All in favor of recommending to council, please say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? All right, now we'll move on to 112, which is to approve the contract with RG Houston Company Incorporated for the River Trail Underpass. And Brett, I imagine you're probably going to speak to that one as well?
Sure. Yeah, I can take this one. So this is a large project. This is a large part of the remediation too along the river adjacent to the RDA. This is also the underpass, trail and underpass through the 4th Street Bridge using the north culvert. So this project, if you look at the breakdown with grant proceeds, we are right there. So at $206 essentially. So that's pretty good. And that's also carrying a 5% contingency. Just realizing that there is some remediation in this project that, just like the other project on Wagon Works Way, that we could run into some unanticipated remediation that was not apparent during the soil borings. As you notice too, the budget breakdown, there's a lot of different contributing line items to this budget, as well as grant funds, which are secured. So there's a lot that goes into this project in particular.
And forgive me, I can't remember, does this include filling the
Yeah.
tail race and the head race?
Yep, you got it. So it fills in the head race and tail race. That also does some remediation work to the basement of the powerhouse. So it fills that in as well. And then once the head race and tail race is filled in and secured, the powerhouse is no longer counted as a dam structure, and then we can then market it.
Yep. Thanks for that. Any other questions? All right, entertain a motion to recommend to council on this one.
Motion to recommend.
All right, we have a motion by Brett,
Second.
second by Lisa. All in favor of recommending this resolution to council, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? We will recommend to council. And the last resolution, which is really small for some reason, this is R113, authorizing and directing proper city officials to approve eliminating the house manager position at the Opera House and approving the assistant director position with an exempt salary of $80,000. That was approved by personnel 3-0. The overall fiscal impact for 2026 would be $13,900, give or take. And then we have the 2027. And
Yep.
AJ, were you?
Yeah, AJ's going to walk us through this.
Perfect.
The reason we brought it here is because we have a 3-year commitment, which AJ can cover from the Friends of the Opera House. But after 3 years, that commitment goes away. So we wanted to make sure the Finance Committee and the City Council was aware of that before we make the commitment. Go ahead, AJ.
Okay, so we recently had a departure of our house manager, so if you could pull the slides up, Tim, please. Or Nicole Marie, do you have it?
I have it.
Okay,
I'm on the resolution.
no problem. Yep, there we are. Okay, so it is normal city procedure that when we have a departure of an individual, I usually sit down with the director and we look at what makes most sense. Should we fill the position as is, or is this an opportunity to make a change? And it was identified here that there definitely is a change to restructure to be able to move the Opera House forward for the next 10 years. The plan that you see up there, the current structure, that was put in place about 10 years ago, if not a little bit more. And we found that there's definitely new opportunities in regards to structure. So, Tim, if you could switch to the next slide. So our proposed change is a little bit more busy, but if you look at the titles there, what we're going to be talking about tonight, our focus is to eliminate the house manager position. You won't see that in the 3 boxes. What we would like to do is have a director and then change that house manager's position tonight to an assistant director's position. And what we would be focusing on is having that assistant director working on community partnerships, organizational development, development and fundraising initiatives, strategic projects, artist and presenter relations, and then organizational operations, which is a little bit different than what you're seeing currently. If you look on the far right-hand side, that's our surprise for the 2027 budget. We're going to be asking that our $15,000 budgeted position move into potentially an office assistant or office manager position. So we're taking some of those duties from the office or the house manager position and moving those into the assistant director as well as the director, but then bringing in that office manager's position. That's not on the table tonight. Tonight what we're asking for is to get that assistant director's position opened up so that we can post it, we have the dollars for it, and we will demonstrate that to you as well. Next slide, please. So why are we proposing, oh, we're missing a slide there, Tim. Did you skip one, or? That is the next one? Okay. So we're proposing that we make this change, and the question is, how do we make that happen? And it's a partnership between the Stoughton Opera House Friends Association and the City of Stoughton. And we'd have shared collaborations there, which is what's in the middle of the 2 circles. And again, going through that community impact, the strategy, actually looking at grants, something that we haven't had time to do, that'll all be part of that position. So we approached the Stoughton Opera House and asked them for a commitment of 3 years, and we asked for $20,000. So if you can switch to the next slide. So we asked for $20,000 in annual commitment. That would be 2026, 2027, and 2028. We do have an agreement with them. They absolutely support us moving to this assistant director position. We went through that with them last week, and they did agree to giving us the $20,000 with the funds being used exclusively for the Opera House assistant director's position, salary and benefits. So that would be where that 20,000 is coming from that the mayor alluded to. If you go to the next slide, you'll see here that $20,000 would be given to us in 2026. There's an offset cost, so we have an assistant director's position at $38.46 per hour, and then the house manager was making $28.67. So that difference comes out to within the budget of $6,096.70. And again, keeping in mind this isn't a full year. Going into 2027, as the mayor alluded, we would have that $20,000 offset, looking at a full salary plus a 3% potential increase, which would put us at $15,879 over budget, but we would be asking to move that $6,096 into 2027 because it can only be used for this position's salary and benefits, which would reduce the total over budget by $9,700. So we are asking that we move forward with this position. It does meet the needs of the Opera House. It does set us forward into the next 10 years and positions us so that we'd be able to focus on grants and other things that we have not been able to do thus far. So any questions on that? Mayor? Anything additional we need there?
No, I think basically, we did a strategic plan right before the pandemic, and one of the things that were identified in there was an opportunity to do more corporate sponsorships. And we think that this positions us to do that, which hopefully will help us recoup some of the additional funding that we need for this position. Right now, we're not sure what that looks like yet. We'd have to put a plan together, but we think that there's a pretty good opportunity there.
That is correct, and we've talked at length with Director Brem. Unfortunately, he couldn't be with us tonight. He is confident that, given the right person being hired into this position, we would be able to build those relationships and tap into untapped sources that right now we don't have the time to be able to work with, but there's definitely opportunities out there to be able to possibly at some point in time do some self-funding.
Brenda, you had a question?
Well, the first part of my question just got answered, so thank you. But my second part relates to, you alluded to an office manager position coming up in the future. What happens to the structure of this, the employment's, the situation here if that is not approved, if we don't have the budget for that? Then what happens to this position?
The duties would continue to be spread then between your box office manager, the structure of the second slide that we had with the three boxes. Those duties would have to be spread between those three individuals. Currently today, we're staffed with 3 people, and then we have $15,000 out there for a part-time person. We would continue to fund that $15,000 for the part-time person, and then the rest of it would have to be absorbed by the rest of the team.
Adrian?
Not a question, but just a follow-up for you. We discussed this at length in personnel, and it sounds like there is a lot of administrative burden falling onto the director. And so that's definitely something that we'll be discussing with this office manager position. But yeah, the director and assistant director would be taking on a lot of administrative burden, which hopefully we can find a way to avoid, but.
And we do have
We
a
need help.
process. When we go through our operations budget, the department heads will be submitting additional staffing requests, and then we take those requests to our personnel committee, and they help rank them and prioritize them for me to consider as I put my budget together. And, really what it comes down to then is, do we have enough money to fund it? And, what's going to be above the line and what's below the line? We're hoping that at least we'll be able to partially fund this, if not fully fund it, but it's a little bit early to tell. But Nicole Marie has been fairly optimistic so far as the amount of growth that we've had in the last year, which is the way that we can create additional funding. But there's still a lot of numbers that need to be crunched, and a lot of those numbers are coming from the state. So as we get into, August, I think we'll know a little bit more.
Preliminary values are published Friday.
Friday? Okay. So I think that'll give us a pretty good idea, and then we do know what some of our fixed costs are going to be for our health insurance, for example. We have an idea of what our wages will look like. Typically, what we're not sure about is other things like other types of insurance. So that's something that AJ and risk management will be crunching them numbers for us as well. And then Nicole Marie will calculate the net new construction and then see whether or not there's anything with the expense restraint program that would be, beneficial for this funding. So we have a fair amount of work to do, but I think, we have a plan, and hopefully we can fund it. That door needs to stay open there.
Any additional questions on this one? Do we have a motion?
I'll move to recommend approval.
All right, we have a motion to recommend to council by Adrian
Second,
and a second by Lisa. All in favor of recommending this motion to council, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we will recommend that to council.
Do we need to go through the reports tonight?
No, I was going to suggest to pass those on to the next meeting.
Okay. And we have our future agenda items, the standard ones, updating the purchase policy, TID 7 projects, affordable housing, and then a reminder that we have CIP on Thursday, August 13th, Thursday, August 20th, and if needed, Thursday, August 27th. Anything else for the good of the cause?
This was a lot of quick turnaround things or a lot of quick turnaround items on our agenda. Thanks, Nicole Marie, for powering through all of those and setting us up.
Yes, agreed. Anything else?
How about a motion to adjourn?
All right, we have a motion to adjourn by Brett
A second.
and a second by Brenda. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
And no opposed, so we are adjourned. Thank you.